Snowden, a town full of bliss and snowy delight. Through our journey in Undertale, this is a place we come back to often. There are friendly faces everywhere, and it sort of carries a sense of holiday cheer year-round. However, while everyone is going about their lives, there is great sadness that looms far outside the comfort of the town. Deep within Snowden Forest, there is one character who is bound to the location forever, and only through the help of a traveler do they gain a sense of hope. You see, the Snowman is quite a heartbreaking character all around. Having to sit alone in solitude without the ability to move would cause one's mind to wander, and often into dark places. Watching people pass by on the path to and from town would probably be saddening to some degree. If they only had the ability to move, they could experience the world like everyone else, but instead, they sit alone. They have no one to talk to, and they have nothing to do to pass the time. Papyrus even asks on the phone if the Snowman is still there, meaning he hasn't visited in quite a while. He remarks that it must be tough being a snowman, which sort of paints this picture a little more grim than I originally thought. Nothing ever dampers Papyrus' mood, yet the way he addresses this situation amplifies the feeling. He requests you to be nice to them, and then the call is over. But through all the sadness, there's one hope. The player has the option to take this snowman piece through the barrier into the world of humans, and this act would bring the snowman great happiness. This snowman is really a test of your commitment. Do you stay true to your word, or do you give in and break your promise? Much like many things in Undertale, it comes down to a test of your morals and who you are as a person. This is what made this mini-quest so great within the game. Upon finishing the game, with the piece still intact, you pass on the legacy of the snowman to another place, and the story comes to a close. And of all the characters within Undertale, I feel the snowman is often the most neglected. But what if I told you there was more to the snowman than meets the eye? Why is the snowman here, and what purpose did they serve? Now I know that sounds like a silly question because it's like, duh, it's a snowman, it was built for fun. However, by now we should know that most things in Undertale are more than they seem, and I think this snowman has a secret. First, we have some ground to cover about what makes this snowman so strange. For starters, this snow we are given heals us when consumed. And it doesn't just heal us a little bit, it heals us a lot. Depending on what path you're taking in the game, it pretty much full heals you throughout the majority of it by restoring 45 hit points when consumed. But why does it do this? That's a lot of HP for just water. Most of the time in RPGs, water or beverages heal MP or cleanse status effects. And in my eyes, making a natural resource a mighty healing item is a tad silly. The closest thing to the snowman piece in consistency is Nice Cream, and that heals only 15 health. So why does a clump of snow restore 3 times as much? Is it because there's something special about this snow? Dog residue also heals health and looks to be of the same consistency. So it makes you wonder. To make matters more interesting, this snow never melts throughout your entire journey. Obviously this could be argued that it is simply an item like Nice Cream, but it makes me wonder how it survives the hot land. Even a cup of water evaporates very quickly, and our spunky warrior friend collapses from heat exhaustion. But the snowman piece is never affected. It's almost like there is some sort of aura protecting the snow, and the health that is restored is in direct correlation to the snowman's powerful drive to see the world. It is also worth mentioning that the snow on Sans' Hotland station isn't melted either.
This is where things get a little dicey though, because in a similar vein to Gaster, we don't have much information to go off of. However, we can derive the snowman's potential history from some things included in the game. For starters, a snowman is odd in the realm of the underground, because a monster probably wouldn't make it. A snowman is a very cultural thing for humans, and given how much time has passed since the underground was sealed off, the common monsters of today wouldn't have this knowledge. Obviously, it is a simple concept, but they wouldn't make a snowman per se. They would make a snow dog or a snow skeleton. Much like how snowmen are modeled after people, the monsters would simply create copies of themselves or other monsters. The internet of the underground is also separate from the human world as well. So again, they wouldn't have a snowman image readily available. The detail in the snowman is also lacking in comparison to other snow sculptures, so it is apparent that whoever built it didn't have great skill.
So with that frame of reference, the snowman was probably built by someone who had this knowledge innately. So what if the snowman was built by a human who had passed through this area? The only other person who may have knowledge of the above ground and its practices besides Gaster would probably be Alphys, assuming she found out about it somehow through the garbage dump. It still probably wouldn't make sense for them to build it though, but it might make sense for the Orange Soul. Now any human could have rightfully built this snowman, but because the gloves of the Orange Soul are found not too far from here, and given that a child would wear gloves to avoid frostbite while handling the snow for a long time, it might make sense that this human built this snowman before their demise. Which is kinda sad to think about, since soon after this task, they were killed.
But even if the snowman was built by this human, it still doesn't explain why it was brought to life. We know other monsters in the area are living elements, from ice caps to our flaming bartender friend Grillby. Simply putting snow into a pile shouldn't bestow life, and none of the other snow sculptures in the area are alive either. If they were, we'd have another papyrus on our hands. But with that said, what if life was given to the snowman specifically? This wouldn't be the first time something without a soul gained the will to live. Who's to say that was the only time this experiment took place? What if the snowman was another test subject, just like the first flower? Bestowing determination, or the will to live, to the snowy figure could have brought him to life, and that may also explain why the snowman heals you so much. Much like consuming the final dreams, this consumption of determination reinvigorates your character and gives them the power to go on.
So, in some ways, this snowman could be a follow-up test to the determination experiments. This experiment not only bestowed life upon the snowman, but also gave every part of his body sentience. This is why he only needs a part of him to be carried elsewhere, so he can experience that area through that piece. However, this stance still doesn't fully explain why other monsters in the area are made of the elements. An outlier for this situation would be the enemy Ice Cap. Since once their hat is taken, they simply turn to a block of ice. However, this block of ice is still a monster because upon defeat it turns to dust, which is a trait that happens to all monsters. If the snowman is consumed multiple times, he eventually collapses into a useless pile of snow though. Should he rightfully turn to dust at this point? Or is he simply holding on by a thread and is not actually completely defeated? One could argue that it is like Vegetoid, and how after it is devoured, it simply spares the monster from the fight. Although in the original demo, the monster actually dies and you gain EXP. Both of these concepts swing the situation differently though. But there is one more angle to this snowman that is separate from what we just discussed. And that is if this character is actually someone we've encountered before, although not in person.
While navigating through the Snowden Forest for the first time, Papyrus hits you with a variety of puzzles, but one of these puzzles is from Sans. He presents you with a crossword with a peculiar character on it that we never actually encounter, and that is Icy. Now, it is uncertain if Icy actually had more stake in the game originally, but we only encountered this character once in the form of a piece of paper. However, something interesting is that if your fun value hits a certain parameter, you actually see a different image on screen, and that is Icy and something labeled as Nightmare. This Nightmare has the body of a snowman though. Now, this is going a bit out on a limb here, but what if Icy is our snowman? We see that ice blocks are sent into the core over and over again. What if Icy was accidentally sent into the core to cool it off? Obviously this is far-fetched, but hear me out. The nightmare of being a living entity of ice would be the water cycle. Ice melts into water, which then evaporates, condensates, and rains back down. Or in this case, snows back down. What if Icy was accidentally melted somehow, and through the water cycle was converted into snow? This snow was then built into the snowman. This more than likely isn't probable, but it is still worth considering since we only have 2 visuals of actual snowmen in the game. It does, however, showcase the snowman in a completely new light.
So, with those 2 analyses in play, we'd of course love to hear your thoughts. Do you think the snowman was built by one of the first humans? Do you think this snowman's snow has special properties due to the snowman being an experiment of some sort? And last, do you think the snowman could be icy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your own analysis on the snowman, and how he fits into the world of Undertale. I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Paul for helping make this video a possibility. I met Paul back at PAX East 2016, and during that time we had a discussion about the snowman and he explained his thoughts on the matter. Truthfully, when I first played through Undertale, I didn't pay too much attention to this character. But Paul got my gears turning in my head once he shared his thoughts. Paul runs a gaming channel himself where he plays various Minecraft mods and minigames alongside Team Fortress 2. If you have the time, please check his channel out, as I also help voice a video on his channel. Once again, this video would not have been possible without his help. So, thanks for everything, Paul. And with that, thanks for tuning in to this snowy adventure into mystery. If you'd like to join me on my YouTube voyage and help me build the most baller snowman ever, then the subscribe button is just what you're looking for. Thanks for watching, guys and gals, and until my next video, cheers. You've made it to the end of the video, but wait, your quest isn't over yet. If you want to watch some more swanktastic content, why not check out my video to the left? On the right, you'll find my collaboration with Paul on his channel about Toby Fox's challenge to game developers. As always, there's a slew of other videos on my channel too, so regardless, I hope you enjoy.